and a woman responding to an RFP. It's prohibitive. You know, a small woman-owned business isn't going to be able to go out and get, you know, $2,000 worth of legal advice for a piece of business she doesn't even know that she's going to win. Lastly, I need to be obligating the suppliers with whom I spend a significant amount of money. I need to obligate them to do the same thing. I need to be obligating them to have inclusive supply chains as well. One last point. Women typically excel, we've seen, in a couple of categories. Facilities maintenance. Now, you know, at the risk of generalising, women do excel in services, and in particular they've been shown to do very well in things like facilities maintenance, marketing, and HR. So when I'm sourcing for those categories, I'm going to make damn sure that I'm practicing what I preach and giving women the opportunity to respond to those RFPs. And lastly, I'm going to give them lots of feedback. If they're not successful, and I'm just giving them the opportunity to compete. I'm just trying to level the playing field a little bit. I'm not giving them preferential treatment, but if they're not successful, I'm going to make sure that I'm giving them the time and the space to figure out where they went wrong and what to do next time. That's it from me. Be more in the questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Monique. Truly, Accenture is a world leader in making these things happen. And I think it's very important that we recognize that it's actually the private sector, it's these big corporations that are taking the stand to make sure that their purchasing power supports both men and women. But think about the potential if more corporations did this and showed the way for governments to also look at their purchasing power and their level of inclusivity. And what if that had implications for the multilaterals and the NGOs with their own purchasing power? And a commitment to poverty alleviation and women's economic empowerment so that all communities grow and develop. I mean, the power in this room alone and the potential in this room alone for real impact is very significant if we just start asking the question of why should we be inclusive, how inclusive are we start to measure, we start to report, we start to share information, share experience with women business owners, mentor, teach, learn. So thank you very much to our panelists for very diverse experiences that were shared about why now, why women, what is the implication for trade and economic development and employment for all. Meg? Okay, so are there any questions that you'd like to share? We asked for things to be written down, but we're such an informal group, and I love the smiles and the energy. So I see that probably hasn't been written down, so we'll go ahead and take questions from the floor. Thank you.
My name is Phyllis Johnson. I own a coffee importing company in the United States, and I'm very pleased to be here today at the invitation of ITC. I also work with an organization that is helping to empower women who work in coffee in African countries, so I'm very excited about that. I just want to say that based on what you were saying from Accenture, that the return on investment is greater. And what I've learned from you is that I've always tried to act like a big business, pay the large contract fees, get the attorneys, because I didn't want to appear to be a small company. I wanted to play the game. But I now realize that I can offer more of a return on investment to one of the larger companies that I'm working with by going in and sitting down and telling them exactly how they can structure plans that would enable other women-owned businesses to come in and do business with them. So I've learned a return on investment and not necessarily to feel as though I'm not being who I should be as a supplier. So I'm sorry it's not a question, it's a comment, but I had to share it.
Mr. Lal, allow me to join you to feel the handsome feeling among the beautiful ladies. Okay, my question goes to Her Excellency Minister Forte. When you had presented the trend of the women in business and trade from 2010 and 2020 and in the future. I feel ashamed of disclosing my experience being a businessman in the past. There are 3 addicts. Sorry to say, alcohol, money, and women. What do you see the trend after the number, in the quality of the business and the trade in the future with the growing trend of the role of the women, please? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Have you heard the term mancession? Anybody has heard it? So there is a new concept that's emerging that after the recession is over, what is going to happen is mancession. Because the men have been concentrated in the high-level jobs, and they have been hard hit by it. And if they're lucky down the line, they'll find a woman to take care of them. The other trend is that with the rights of women being recognized, governments are going along the line where they're now, as women become more powerful, as women, the status of women is recognized. There are some brilliant governments that are ensuring that men are able to share in their property in a way that's very different when men held property. Now your question, I believe, is where do I see women going beyond? Quality of life?
Quality of the business, quality of trade.
There are attempts to predict that. Actually, they're saying women are going to rule the world. Don't be afraid. You know, it's going to require a different mindset, a different approach to understanding how things will operate. I certainly do not foresee a decline in the quality of life, but there are going to be implications, greater implications for family and how we traditionally understand society to be structured. I fear a little for the men, I must tell you, because as women become more empowered, men are going to be left behind. And already we're seeing a reversal. But the multifaceted nature of women, I believe, will mean that they will look at things from a wholesale standpoint and seek to balance or redress the imbalances. So I'm hopeful. And I think that societies will develop more, truly develop more when I look on the data, when women are empowered. Because they're going to invest back. They're going to ensure that the children are educated. And so the next generation is going to be better than the one before. But there is a framework that we have to set, and there is an enabling environment that we have to create. I hope I answered the question.